Alrighty, Darren, we're live. Yeah.
What's up?
What's up?
Hello, everybody.
All right, microphone's on.
And welcome back to Talk Recovery on Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. And stay tuned for the end of our show. We have a little Christmas song for you, from me to you. So stay tuned. We are back in studio with our personal story, and we've got a great guest today. Great human being, just one heck of a guy. Wojciechs in the house.
Hello.
Say hello to the Facebook world.
Hello, everybody.
So have you ever done this before?
You know what? I haven't actually. Just with my job that I was doing, I was doing a lot of overnights.
Yep.
So I was usually sleeping around this time. So now that I've had a little bit of a change, it offers me a lot of more free time where I can do these type of things now, right? So,
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So there's only a couple of people listening,
Yeah.
right? Probably
A few thousand.
Probably two people
Sure.
watching on Facebook. So no worries, just be honest.
Yeah.
Tell us your story.
Now,
Let's start with tell us a little bit about the addiction, like where to go, what were you using?
Sure. When I was asked to do this, I was thinking, I'm driving around thinking trying to prepare what to say, right? Trying to get the most concise thing. But honestly, when it just comes down to it, my story, it's not as exciting as some other people's story. I wasn't on the downtown east side. I didn't end up homeless. I was a middle class kid, middle class family, both parents, older brother. And when I look back at it, it started with me with just me and my cousins stealing a little bit of the parents' alcohol when all the parents were partying upstairs, right? Having a few drinks, started smoking pot in high school, got a little older, started going to parties, going to clubs, started the rave, getting into the rave scene, so a lot of the rave drugs like ecstasy, and I did that for a long time during my 20s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it wasn't about till late 20s I got really introduced to my drug of choice, right? I was a heavy cocaine user, and I remember my first time, and I did it, and I was I jumped in with both feet. It wasn't a slow progression. I was just this is for me.
Like when NA says, we don't become addicted in one day. It's just what about cocaine? I mean, have you not tried cocaine?
That's right, But I was already addicted. Like the other guest said, I was addicted to not feeling any pain. I just wanted to feel good, and I wanted to feel good quickly.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't want to have to go to the gym. I didn't want to have to wait, and have a nice day. No, I wanted to have a nice time now.
Yeah.
Right now, right then.
Yeah.
I didn't want to have to make a plan, make all these things with all my friends. No, I wanted to have fun right now, right?
Yeah.
And
you found that in cocaine.
oh yeah. And ecstasy as well, right?
Yeah.
But that was the beginning of it, right? Later it's a typical story. It turned on me, right? Where, makes you very social, made me really social.
Yeah. So I know, there's hundreds of people that I grew up with, it's very similar to your story, that who would probably share the same thing, first time they had a drink was the parents were upstairs partying and, they snuck some booze and, and went to raves and tried this and tried that and didn't end up having to go to treatment.
That's right.
Right? So what was it about your story you think made you different?
I think just also, with my addiction, I had a lot of self, the way I looked at myself, right? I was really negative about myself. I've always been a big kid growing up, right?
Right.
So with that, I had really low self-esteem, really bad body image issues, and I always tried to, I didn't have a lot of stability. I was always trying to do, these little quick jobs. I wanted to work as little as possible so I can go out and party as much as possible. So usually quick, maybe you're doing a job for a year, working in kitchens, working in warehouses and stuff like that. So I really didn't have a lot of stability, and a lot of the people that I was partying with, even in my 30s, they ended up they got together, they got into relationships, they started to have families, and eventually they're just well, it's time to stop.
Mm-hmm.
For me,
Exactly.
I got resentful, and I was well, you guys can stop, but I'll be a party of one, I don't give a shit, I'll go.
Yeah.
But eventually, I'm in my 30s, I'm too old to go to the clubs, right? And I don't want to go out. I'd rather just stay at home and just get loaded, and really that's when it really took a really hard turn, when I started doing it by myself and just by myself, and that's what I preferred. to get loaded by myself. And that's when it was like, when you, that metaphorical, Thelma and Louise going off that cliff, right? Like that's when I hit the gas and went off the cliff, I think, when I look back at it now.
And how long did you stay in that form of?
A good 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and then of course I was introduced to like opiates, like OxyContin during that time, and just doing a lot of things I didn't think I was going to do. Like I wasn't a thief before that. I wasn't much. I mean, I was a liar, but like I would never dream of stealing from my family, stealing from my parents, stealing from anybody. Right?
And you turned to that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So what were you doing for work at all? Anything?
I mean, I was doing some crime. I was doing a lot of illegal things back then.
Okay.
Like a lot of illegal things back then, just to make money. Stuff like it's in the pot business. And I thought I was proud of it. I was like, if you gotta go do a 9 to 5, you're a sucker. So a lot of money, a lot of free time.
Yeah.
Bad recipe for somebody like me.
Sure.
Bad recipe, right? So a lot of free time, a lot of money, and of course, where did that go?
But perfect for somebody who doesn't like responsibility,
Yeah.
doesn't want to work 9 to 5.
That's right.
Has the FOMO situation.
That's right.
Right.
But the fear of missing out it wasn't missing out with other people. It turned to that. It was more like fear of not being loaded, fear of feeling something, fear of like having to do something, and
Having to grow up, having to take responsibility.
yeah. Talk about being a Peter Pan, like I don't want to grow up.
Yeah.
I can be in my 30s and act like I'm 15, sure.
Yeah.
Why
So at this point, you're alone. You're using oxys,
Yeah, everything.
coke, everything. You must have physically looked like you were deteriorating at some point. Did you try to explain that off or justify why you look a certain way?
Oh yeah, like I mean I was pale. I was just how it is, right? Like you get pale, clammy. It's August and you're pale as a ghost, right? Everybody's got a nice tan, right? And of course I chalked it up to like, oh, I'm just eating really poorly, which I was.
Yeah.
I was eating really poorly, right? You're not doing really healthy options at that point. You're not buying bags of broccoli at that point. You're eating every couple of days or every 4 days, then it's not going to be healthy choices. So I just chalked it up to like, I'm not eating really healthy. Maybe if I start eating healthier, but no, I wasn't,
Yeah. And did people, like, you're telling this to your family?
Yeah.
And did they believe that?
I thought they did.
Yeah.
In my mind, I thought I had everybody fooled, right? I was like, oh, these guys are just dopes, right? I'm like, I'm a good liar, right? I got to a point where I think somebody in my family said, you should go into politics. And I thought that was a compliment, right? Like now looking back, I'm like, wow.
You're a weasel.
You're a total weasel. And I'm like, yeah, totally, right? They believed it, I think, to a point. But later, talking to my family now that I've been clean, I think a lot of it was they just didn't want to believe that their son was an addict.
Or know how to approach the problem.
Absolutely.
So, what was the first thing that somebody said to you that was like, that you knew they knew?
It was me going to my mom for the second time that week, trying to borrow money to pay my cell phone bill. Right?
Yeah.
I first time, of course, took that money, got loaded with it, made up this huge lie that like, listen, I was online paying it, and I got one of the account numbers wrong, so it's gonna take them a couple weeks for them to send that money back to me, but I gotta pay my phone off right now,
Yeah.
And yeah, she gave it to me, but she started thinking like, okay, there's a problem here, right? There's something wrong here, like, you know what? And she got my brother involved and sister-in-law, and just they started like they all got together and started talking about the different stories I had been telling everybody. And then when everybody got together and started like, well, he told me this. No, well, he's been telling me this. Yeah. Okay, there's some problems here, right? So.
And so they're just guessing at this point, but they must think that it's drugs.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. I mean, just the sleep patterns, just you see it on TV and stuff like that, right? But I mean, I told them that I wasn't. I told them like, yeah, once in a while you go out to a party, this and that, right? But you could tell. I could tell that they knew something was up. Like you just, now that I'm clean and I could see people that are in the same situation I was, it's actually pretty humbling to see like, wow, I didn't fool anybody, right? Like, being going loaded, being high, going to my parents' place, right? Like, it's so obvious when somebody's high in cocaine when you're not doing cocaine, right? Like, it's pretty obvious, right? And
well, when you've used cocaine,
yeah.
But if you've you know, if your parents were the
That's
ones
the
that
thing,
grew up
yeah.
without it,
Sure.
you know, it's hard. Like, they want to believe what's going on. They don't want to,
Yeah.
like, imagine that their son's all messed up on these
Absolutely.
drugs that, you know,
Yeah.
they only see on some documentary on TV.
Or they hear from friends, their kids, you know, that's the thing, like, I'd go, and my mom, she's like, yeah, I just talked to a friend of mine, her daughter's, you know, a heroin addict, you know, and like, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, wow, you know, she doesn't realize her own son is, you know, a total addict. Right?
So, in this, did you ever try to stop?
You know what, I would say, I had a lot of the, looking back at it now, I don't think I really ever tried. I always had a lot of the, this is my last times, you know, I had a thought, you know, every day was the last time, you know,
Right.
every day, okay, this is it. After today, we gotta make some changes, right? That didn't last. That there was no change, right? There was no change, right?
Yeah.
It just next day you wake up, you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad, right? I mean, okay.
I used to stop all the time
Yeah.
because I ran out of money, lots.
Yeah, yeah.
And as soon as I got money,
This is the new last time. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
So what brought this all to a head? I mean, what was
Finally,
the-
my family's like, you know what? Listen, we're gonna give you a drug test, and I was just like, yeah, okay, fine, sure, do it, bring it on. We're gonna give you a hair test. It's like, okay, cool, give me a hair test. Like 2 days before, shave my head, right?
Really?
But I pretended like, you know, oh, I didn't know. I forgot you guys were going to give me a hair test, right? It's summer. I wanted to shave my head, right? And of course, you know, with a hair test, you can use any hair, right? But they didn't know that, right? So I was going to shave everything. I was just like, okay, just the head's going to be enough. So they're like, okay, well, we can wait. And I'm like, okay, well, they're going to wait. By then I had this plan. I had this intricate plan. I'm like, okay, listen, it's going to be at least 6-7 weeks before my hair grows back. In that time, maybe put in some work. Maybe let's start getting my life a little bit back together.
You think?
So like maybe I can still use, not as much, but try to like, you know, show them that I'm actually like, well, maybe this scared them into like getting better.
Right.
But it didn't. I knew that the hair test was coming and it just kept going. And then finally I gave them the hair sample. I knew it was gonna fail, obviously, right? And then when it came back, it was like, you know, this is a really high level, right? Like this is like, are you using cocaine as shampoo? Like these are like crazy high levels, right? And then of course the hair test even knew that you're drinking with it,
Yeah.
you know, and they called me out on it, like here it is. And even then right away, defensive, I was just like, oh, the test has to be wrong. The test has to be wrong. They're just like, stop, you know, and then that was it. At that point I knew it was just like, well, the cat's out of the bag. Well, the cat's been out of the bag for a while, but I have no place to go.
But now they have proof. And
Now there's proof,
Yeah.
and I have no place to weasel out.
Sure.
You know, I can't weasel myself or anything out of this at this point. I said, yeah, I'm a drug addict at that point, you know.
You said those words.
Yes. I said, yeah, I'm an addict, right? And they said, you know, you have a choice, right? Like, you can get help. We've looked up to some places. You can get help, or we're done with you. You know,
Okay.
we don't
So-
want you around anymore.
So they were talking treatment centers,
Well,
detoxes.
Yeah, my sister-in-law looked up, like she actually just Googled treatment, and then the place I happened to go to came up first, right? And they got the pamphlet. They had called a couple days before,
Yeah.
got a pamphlet, got everything. They did the legwork. But they had this. The thing is, they had the results a couple days before they called me on it, right?
Yeah.
So they talked about it, right? And what was going to happen, what would be the consequences and stuff like that if I told them to fuck off or you know, to beat it. Excuse me. So they, you know, they totally sat me down and just said, like, this is what it is, right? This is like what your levels are at. This is what, like, if you were regular, you know, didn't have an addiction. This is like, it actually tells you what regular use is, minimal use is, and what like chronic abuse is. And I was way past chronic abuse.
Sure.
Like way past.
Well,
right?
you were.
Yeah, absolutely, right?
Right.
And I had to make a decision, and they said, listen, you can call this place tomorrow. It was a Friday, I remember. You can call this place on Saturday. They're waiting for your call. You can call them. It's up to you.
So
There's
they'd
no-
already made a phone call.
That's right.
Okay. So not to a doctor. There was no other attempts at anything else.
No.
It was Google. The first treatment center that came up, they contacted.
They looked at a couple places, you know, and they'd say, well, this one's close. You know, it's in New West, so that's nice, right? There's other ones obviously on the island and Port Coquitlam, right? But, you know, they looked at this one and it looked nice, right? And just, you know, had good reviews and just, you know, they figured I'd like it. You know, like all the people are together and, you know, they knew that I was living a pretty lonely life, right? So
Mhm.
they said, you know, you have a choice. Now, they put it into my hands. They're like, we've done the work now, we've done the legwork, they're waiting for your call, it's up to you to make the call.
So what happened the next day?
That night, went home, broke down, and I was just like, I need help, right? And it was weird. I tried calling my dealer. None of them would pick up. It was the weirdest thing. You always have a couple dealers on the ready to go, and none of them picked up. And I made the call, and they'd scheduled if you want to come in for a tour of the place, right? And I called my brother and I said, well, we can have a tour whenever we want. He goes, well, let's go right now. Let's go take a tour. We went in on the Saturday and had a tour of the place. And I was like, I could probably, I want to give this a shot. And that Monday I went in. But it was weird. I kept, packing my stuff. I'm trying to make these phone calls all weekend. I couldn't get a hold of anybody. So I wanted that last, okay, you know what? That's it. Let's do the last hurrah.
Right.
Didn't happen. Couldn't get it. Which is good, because I'm like, who knows what would have happened, right? Like, who knows what kind of stupid things I would have done. Who knows if I would still want to go to treatment if I had that last hurrah, right?
So here you are, coming down, in a detox. You've been basically alone for the last 5 years plus. Nothing's improved in your life as far as self-esteem, all of those, those things you were describing in the beginning of being a part of your addiction. They're all going to come to surface, and you're walking into an environment full of people and you don't know anybody.
That's right.
Right? Like, we're kind of describing just the worst.
The first person I
most
saw
difficult.
coming in had tattoos on his face.
Oh, there you go.
And I'd never seen anybody in person with tattoos on their face.
Right.
I was like, that guy's got tattoos on his face.
So
and they're like, oh no, he's cool. He's cool.
So it was kind of like, our first guest describing, like, right at that first time she went to a meeting, like, knowing that this wasn't for me. Did that go through your mind?
You know what? No. I went in, and just walking in the front door, people coming up and saying hi. They saw me with a suitcase. They knew I was coming in. Guys was coming up and saying, hey man, how's it going? I'm so-and-so, I'm so-and-so. How you doing? Can't wait to meet you. I'm a social person. I like being social, and that's one thing my addiction took away from me, right? I love being a social butterfly, right? Like walking around, meeting people, and right away I kind of felt that again. I kind of felt that a little bit. I was like, oh, people are actually coming up to me, right? And went into the office, checked in, did all the work, and from that point on, people were really nice, and they didn't want anything from me. That was the weird thing. There wasn't like, I didn't have anything, right? That was the thing, right? Like, I wasn't the guy that had all the dope, going to the party. Everybody was happy to see. People were just happy to see me because I was there.
So did you like have this sort of blind trust in the fact that, well, this place is supposed to help me, so like I'm gonna do this, or were you a bit resistant to the guy with the tattooed face? Is this a religious place? Like, are they gonna brainwash me?
I had no concept of what NA was before going in there. I had no real concept of what this place was before. I think what it was I was 35 years old, and I was ready to stop. I needed something. I needed help, and I was willing to. I looked at this like almost as an adventure, right?
Yeah.
Of course, it was like some people talk about that pink cloud wanting just to stop the pain, stop the suffering. We feel really good. Times came later when like, I had to tell myself this is the place for me, right? Of course, you go those ups and downs, but that day I do remember. I felt good.
It's interesting, hey, because like, let's just say 12 hours previously, you were looking to score dope frantically.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, not describing a man that's like ready to stop, willing to change, but the next, few minutes where people are engaging in you, they're saying hello, they're asking you if you need anything. All of a sudden you're describing somebody who's ready to stop. Like, I think that a lot of the times it's that quick of a mindset change for an addict who's just nothing but trying to get more, trying to weasel his way out of any form of truth, any form of help, like excuses and justifications and manipulations, and let's just keep going, let's just keep getting loaded, and then can literally be 5 minutes later, depending on the environment that they're in, like saying that I've had enough.
Well, and this is where I'm gonna go. This is what I'm gonna have to do. Let's see where this goes. Because honestly, part of me knew, like, you know, it has to be better. It has to be different because what I was doing up to that point led me to that point.
Right.
You know, it's funny. I always tell the guys, some of the guys like Sponties and stuff. I bring up that stupid Seinfeld episode of Opposite George. You know, people are gonna laugh like, oh my god, here he goes again with the Seinfeld thing. You know, and he says like, you know, if every decision that I made in my life that I thought was a good decision has led me to being unemployed, living in my parents' basement, then the opposite should be better, right?
Instead of tuna on rye.
That's right. You know, chicken salad, right? You know, so I wanted to try chicken salad. You know, and,
Right on.
but you know, and it was like I said, it was different. You know, and I just wanted to change, and I think just being alone for so long,
Yeah.
and just being like when a human being is alone for that long, any scraps of like connection we see, we just dive into.
It means something.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's so real and it's so authentic that we try to resist it on a soul level. Like, you know, we try to put our defects up and, you know, but sometimes it's such a relief to feel that you can still connect with other people, that some people engage. And it sounded like you
the other thing too is
in that.
going into the office, being checked in, talking about my drug use. They're asking me questions. Like it was a matter of fact. It was just a conversation. It was like, okay, hey, what were you using? How much were you using?
Right.
It wasn't like, you know, looking down like, oh yeah, so you're here to change your life because you've done all these bad things. What were you using? You know, but it was like, it was an open conversation because everybody was there for doing the same thing, right? But like when they came to me, I didn't feel judged.
Yeah.
When they said, okay, hey man, you're coming into treatment, you know, you're gonna come in. So what were you using? How much were you using? It was all just like, we want to know.
Yeah.
We need to know, and there was no judgment.
So that sounds like, you know, a pretty positive first time in treatment.
Yeah.
Not everybody's experience. You know, get me out of here, right? Like, but what was the most difficult thing for you in that process?
And the whole process was my own. I still isolated a lot, even in a crowd. My self-esteem, building my self-esteem, right? Being a bigger guy, you know, holding on to a lot of like body image issues from like being a kid, from like high school days, from all that. I brought that with me, and you know, I'm my own worst critic.
Yeah.
And I let myself listen to myself too much.
Yeah.
Rather than like letting others kind of just you know compliment you. You know, listen to a compliment, take a compliment. You know, that was probably some of my hardest stuff. Right.
So was it revealed that you may had a food addiction or you know any type of eating disorder?
Oh yeah, I knew. Like I mean, I like to eat. You know, and just like I didn't. You know, the food addiction part. Like I found that like I didn't address it too much in the beginning. I addressed it later. You know, I did address it later, and I saw that I do definitely like the woman before said. You know, addiction finds another way. You find something new to be addicted to, right?
Sure.
You know, and I heard somebody once say, as addicts, we find something good, and we make it unmanageable. We can take something. Even going to the gym, you know, you can be addicted. Just makes it unmanageable, right?
Yeah.
I never got addicted to eating broccoli. You know, unfortunately.
So was that something like was your choice because of resistance to work on it right away? Was it something like, hey, I mean, at least you're not using cocaine and opiates, so
I figured
have a couple of sandwiches, not as big a deal.
I figured I'm in here in the beginning because I also have shopping issues too, right? Like I have problems with shopping and stuff like that. Hey, who doesn't, right? But you know, I thought going into treatment, I thought the drugs were the core of my problem in the beginning, right? I thought, listen, stop doing the drugs, get to a place where I can put time together without getting high, get some money in my pocket, and I'll be okay, right? Everything will be good.
Yeah.
But once I solved the drug problem, that little glitch, but I then realized like, whoa. I got clean. I was 30 plus days clean. Drugs are out of my system. I have no cravings. I'm not even thinking about drugs. But now I'm thinking about all these other things that are driving me into obsession.
Yeah.
And I realized, I'm like, wait a minute. It's not the drugs that glitched me. I was already glitched before that, right? So,
Right. You're still working on a different level. That's not like the healthiest of choices, and thought out processes, and coming from a meditative and calm state, like things are still like gotta feed the beast, in some which way. So okay, so you're how clean are you now?
Just over 4 years.
4 years. When did you know, like, this was a new life for you? This can be maintained. This, like, I can do this. Like, it could be a lifelong thing.
Yeah, a couple times I think. Well, I think after my first year clean, just really soon after that, I lost my sponsor. He passed away, overdosed, and I was like, man, I got through it. And I started losing. It was about that year mark where I started losing people that I got clean with as well.
Mm-hmm.
That started passing away, and it was like, wow, And at that point, I was just like, I had to make a choice. I had to learn. Do I get loaded or do I stay clean? And learn from people's mistakes as well. And
so that's coming from someone who clearly took to that sense of connection right off the bat. Like,
yeah.
So if you knew you could get through a loss and grief and
Yes.
heartache and that type of thing, that there's complete faith that you could get through anything.
Well, I never dealt with death really before.
Yeah.
I came to NA.
Sure.
And then as soon as I started losing people. I got resentful in the beginning. I was like, I didn't sign up for this, But then it's like, well, I did, because this is the nature of the disease, and unfortunately, with what's been going on now, I've lost a lot more people, right, than I would like to, right? But I don't want to see that. It made me numb, because you lose so many people so fast, right? But I want to be there for the other people. It makes me, and also I don't want my story to be. I want my story to be something that I don't want my story to be a cautionary tale. That's kind of where I went. After a year clean, I'm like, I don't want to be a cautionary tale. I don't want to be, don't do what he did, right? I want to be like, do what he did. Yeah. I want what he has.
Do
right?
what he's doing.
Yeah, and that's what inspires me.
Cool.
Today is not to be a cautionary tale.
What's the most important thing to you today?
It's my recovery, my clean time. I have a career. I'm asking 4 years ago about having a career. I'm like, what are you talking about? What is that, right? Being an addict was my career, but now I get to work with people that are getting clean. I get to work in this industry, and I'm almost finished school, I'm working in the place I got clean, and I'm loving it. It's been a dream.
Which was what?
Well, that was the thing. It's just to help people, to help others, right? To be a helpful person, right? To give back.
Wojciech, couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for coming in and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you want to be a part of this and you want to come in and share your story, send us a message. Email Giuseppe, and he'll get to you. So this has been Talk Recovery on Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. Our thanks to our first guest with Refuge Recovery, Erica Folds. And we'll see you next week for another live show during the holidays. Ladies and gentlemen, take care of yourself out there over the holidays. Talk to people. Don't be alone. And do something for somebody that's a little less fortunate than yourself at this point, and you will have yourself a good day. On that note, this is called The Fairy Tale of New York. This is the Pogues. Nice. Beautiful little Christmas song right here.